Section 11 of a scientific and practical treatise on American football for schools and colleges by Henry L. Williams and Amos Alonzo Stagg. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 11, Plays with Diagrams, Part 2. 24. Guard around the opposite end. To send LG around the right end, LG leaves the line as shown in diagram 21, receives the ball at X from QB and passes around the right end at full speed, swing back several yards from the line. RH, FB, and LH dash toward the right end the instant the ball is put in play. RH runs directly for the opposing end, who has been left exposed, and forces him in or blocks him off. FB assists RH if necessary, and then passes on around the end ahead of LG to interfere. LH crosses in front of LG and cutting in close behind RT blocks the first free man on the opposing side. RE and RT play as shown in diagram 20. LT and QB play as in diagram 23. LE follows LG to protect him from behind and to make the play safe. 25. Criss-cross halfback play around the end. To send LH around the right end on a crisscross between the halfbacks, the men stand in their regular positions with the exception of LH, who works out nearer LE and slightly back, without attracting attention, to the second position as shown in the cut. The instant the ball is snapped, RH starts in the direction indicated, receiving the ball at X, and passing close in front of LH, carries the ball at his left side, so that LH may receive it from him as he rushes by, and proceeds on in the line indicated. LH stands in his tracks until RH nearly reaches him, and upon securing the ball instantly starts in the opposite direction at utmost speed and passes around the right end. RT, RG, and RE play as shown in diagram 8. FB works slightly to the left before the ball is snapped, and stands still until RH nearly reaches LH, and starting forward as indicated at the same instant with LH, makes directly for the opposing LE, and blocks him or forces him in. LG breaks away from his man the moment that LH receives the ball and plays as in diagram 8. QB, having passed the ball, stands still until LH has received it, and then plays as in diagram 8, or in case an opponent comes through the line between C and RT, it is the duty of QB to attend to him. LT blocks his man hard or blocks the opposing RG, left exposed by LG. LE follows LH and protects him from behind as shown in diagram 8. Note: in all end and crisscross plays, great care should be taken that the runners do not pass so close to the line that their own men will be pushed back upon them, or so far in the rear that time and space will be lost. 26. End crisscrosses with halfback and play around the end. To send the RH around the left end on a pass play from LE to RH, LE draws in slightly from his original position to LE2, and as the ball is snapped, dashes for the right end, receiving the ball at X, and carrying it at his right side, passes on close in front of RH as indicated. RH stands still in his position until LE nearly reaches him. On receiving the ball, RH dashes in the opposite direction and passes around the left end at utmost speed. As RH receives the ball, FB, LH, QB, and RG, who have, until this moment, stood in their positions, dart for the left end in order to precede RH and interfere for him. LT and LG block their men with the greatest energy. LH makes directly for and blocks the opposing RE. FB takes the direction indicated, helping LH block his man if necessary, and then proceeds on down the field. QB plays as shown in the preceding diagram, while RG, breaking away from his man, plays as does LG in diagram 25. RT also plays as does LT in diagram 25. RE follows immediately behind RH to protect him from the rear. Note: LH may precede LE and take the first man in the line outside of RT to aid in the deception, in which case FB will take the opposing LE, while the others play as before. 27. Tackle crisscrosses with halfback and play around the end. To send the LH around the RE on a pass play from RT, RT leaves the line the instant the ball is snapped, and receiving it at X runs close in front of LH, passes him the ball as he goes by. RE jumps in and takes the man left exposed by RT as he leaves the line. RG holds his man hard. As LH receives the ball, QB, LG, LT, and LE all play exactly as shown in diagram 25. RH and FB stand still until the instant that LH receives the ball, and then play as shown in diagram 8. Note: to make the deception more complete, RH may start the instant the ball is snapped, and directly precede RT and take the first man he meets on the other side of LT. In that case, FB will take the opposing LE. 28. Guard crisscrosses with halfback and play around the end. To send the RH around the left end on a pass from LG, LG leaves the line as the ball is snapped, as shown in diagram 21, and passes directly in front of RH, giving him the ball as he rushes by. As LG leaves the line, LH dashes in and takes the opposing RG, who has been left exposed. At the moment that RH receives the ball, FB, QB, and RG start for the left end in the lines indicated in advance of RH to interfere for him. FB runs directly for the opposing RE and bowls him over or forces him in. RE, RT, RG, QB, and LT play as shown in diagram 26. LE helps LT block the opposing tackle or takes the inside man in the line. 29. Halfback crisscrosses with the end and play around the opposite end. To send LE around the RE on a pass from RH, LE draws slightly in and back to LE2, nearly on a line with the halfbacks before the ball is snapped. RH dashes forward as the ball is put in play, receives it at X, and passing close in front of LE gives him the ball, and then rushes directly into the opposing LE. LE, having received the ball, starts for the right end in the line indicated, trusting altogether to his speed, as there is no one to protect him from behind. RE may either jump into the line and help RT block his man, or take the first man that comes through on the right side of the rush line and force him in toward the center. RT, RG, LG, LT, and FB play as shown in diagram 25. It may be necessary for QB to precede RH and take the first extra man in the line on the left end, in order to allow LE to get away with the ball without being caught from behind. Otherwise, he will play as shown in diagram 25. In case a man comes through the rush line on the right of C, where QB is playing as shown in the cut, it is his duty to block him. Note: FB may precede RH and play as LH in note on diagram 26. 30. Fullback crisscrosses with the end and play around the opposite end. To send RE around the left end on a pass from FB, RE works slightly in and on a line with RH at RE2 before the ball is snapped, while FB moves a little to the left to FB2. As the ball is put in play, RH and FB dash toward the right, FB receiving the ball on a pass at X. RH rushes directly for the opposing LE, or takes the first extra man in the line, while FB runs close in front of RE to whom he gives the ball as he passes. Upon receiving the ball, RE instantly starts in the opposite direction and encircles the left end at utmost speed. RG and LH precede RE and play as shown in diagram 26. RT plays as does LT in diagram 25. LE and LT play as in diagram 28. LG blocks his man hard. In case anyone succeeds in breaking through the line to the left of center, QB immediately blocks him. He will otherwise play as in diagram 28. 31. Ends crisscross and play around the end. To send LE around the right end on a pass from RE, LE and RE both play in slightly, while LE works back until he is nearly on a line with the halfbacks. RE and RH start toward the left the instant the ball is snapped, RH preceding and taking the first extra man in the line beyond the tackle. RE receives the ball at X on a pass from QB, and running close in front of LE, passes him the ball and rushes on into the opposing RE. As RE reaches LE, FB, LH, and LG dash toward the right in the lines indicated. FB takes the first extra man in the line beyond RT. LH runs directly for the opposing LE, and LG, preceding LE, plays as shown in diagram 25. QB blocks the first man through on the right-hand side of the center, if necessary, or plays as shown in diagram 25. LE, upon receiving the ball, starts toward the right at utmost speed, keeping just to the outside of LG. LT, RG, and RT play as shown in diagram 25. 32. Tackle crisscrosses with the end and play around the opposite end. To send RE around the left end on a pass from LT, before the ball is snapped, RE works in and slightly back to RE2. As the ball is put in play, LT leaves the line as shown in diagram 17, receives the ball at X, runs close in front of RE, and gives him the ball as he passes. LT then blocks the opposing LE. LH precedes LT and plays as does RH in diagram 31. FB plays as shown in diagram 28. RG and RT play as shown in diagram 26. QB plays as shown in diagram 30. RE plays as does LE in diagram 29. As LT leaves the line, LE jumps in and takes the opposing tackle as in diagram 17. LG plays as shown in diagram 30. RH starts forward in the line indicated as RE receives the ball and precedes him around the left end, crossing in front of RG as the latter swings in behind the line. 33. Guard crisscrosses with the end and play around the opposite end. To send RE around the left end on a pass from LG, RE draws in and slightly back to RE2. As the ball is snapped, LG breaks away from his man as in diagram 21, receives the ball at X, passes close in front of RE, and rushes directly into the opposing LE. RE remains in his position until LG has almost reached him, receives the ball from LG as he runs by, and plays as in the preceding diagram. LH plays as shown in diagram 28. QB, RH, and FB remain standing in their positions until the instant that RE receives the ball. They then dash toward the left and precede RE at greatest speed to interfere for him. FB runs directly for the opposing RE. RH follows FB and assists him to block the end if necessary, or continues on around the end and takes the first free opponent. RG leaves the line as LG reaches RE, and plays as shown in diagram 26. All the other men play as shown in diagram 32. 34. Tackle crisscrosses with tackle in a play around the end. To send RT around the left end on a pass from LT, the instant the ball is snapped, LT plays as shown in diagram 18 and runs directly for RT. As LT reaches the line, RT jumps suddenly back and receives the ball from LT as he passes, while LT rushes on directly into the arms of the opposing LT. RE jumps in and helps block the opposing LT, or takes the first extra man in the line. LE blocks the opposing tackle as LT leaves the line. LH, FB, and RH stand still until RT receives the ball. Upon receiving the ball, RT instantly starts back in the opposite direction, taking the line indicated, and circles the left end with QB, LH, and FB in advance as interferers, and RH to follow and protect him from behind. Note: RH may also run in advance of RT to interfere when the opposing LE has not come around the end of the line. 35. Double pass from end to fullback and play around the end. To send FB around the right end on a double pass from LE, LE should work in slightly before the ball is snapped to LE2, as in diagram 26. The instant the ball is put in play, RH, FB, LH, LG, and LE leave their positions and dash for the right end in the lines indicated in the diagram. QB, RE, RT, LG, LT, and RG play as in diagram 8. LH cuts in close around RT and blocks the first man he meets. RH runs directly for the opposing LE and blocks him off or forces him in. LE receives the ball at X on a pass from QB, and running at full speed in a course, about 2 yards nearer the line than that taken from FB, throws the ball on ahead of him to the fullback with a clean pass of from 4 to 5 yards, as FB reaches the point behind RT and turns slightly sideways, as he runs, to receive it. LE then cuts in, as shown, and blocks the first free man on the opposing end. FB, upon receiving the ball, passes to the outside and encircles the end. The play may sometimes be made to greater advantage by having LH take the line indicated for FB and receive the ball on the pass, while FB runs on ahead. The guard will find great difficulty in getting in advance of the man with the ball, and may find that he can be of more service by cutting across close behind the line. Note: it may be necessary for FB to withhold his speed slightly until LE has passed him the ball. If it becomes necessary to block the opposing RG, LH may play as in diagram 33, though LG should so time his action that his man will be unable to interfere with the play. 36. Double pass from tackle to fullback and play around the end. To send FB around the right end, on a double pass from LT, there is no change from the regular formation in the primary arrangement. The instant the ball is snapped, LT leaves the line, receives the ball at X from QB and starts for the right end, precisely as shown in diagram 19. LE jumps into the line and takes LT's man as he leaves him. RE, RT, RG, and LG play as shown in diagram 8. QB also plays as shown in diagram 8. LH, FB, and RH all start for the right end the moment the ball is snapped. RH runs directly for the opposing LE and bowls him over or forces him in. LH assists RH if necessary, and then cuts in down the field as indicated to interfere. As FB is about to round the end, he turns half around without slackening speed, and receives the ball at about X on a clean pass from LT. LT then turns in to interfere on the end, while FB passes on encircling the opposing LE. Note: the pass may be made with equal success to LH, in which case FB will assist RH in blocking his man, and then pass on down the field to interfere, while LH swings out in a course just outside of the opposing end rusher. 37. Double pass from guard to halfback and play around the end. To send LH around the right end on a double pass from LG, there is no change in the arrangement. LG leaves the line the instant the ball is put in play, as shown in diagram 21, receives the ball at X, and takes a direction similar to that shown in diagram 23. RE, RT, RG, and LT play as shown in diagram 8. RH, FB, and LH start for the right the instant the ball is snapped. RH runs directly for the opposing LE and disposes of him. FB assists RH if necessary, and then proceeds on down the field to interfere. LH runs somewhat back from the line taken by FB, and as he nears the end turns back and receives the ball on a pass of 4 or 5 yards from LG. LH then puts on utmost speed as he swings out around the end, while LG continues on, cutting in slightly to interfere. LE follows directly behind LH to make the pass safe and to protect him from behind. 38. Slow mass wedge from a down. To send the slow pushing wedge through the center from a down, the men spring to their positions in the wedge formation, as shown in the cut, the instant the signal is given. RG forces himself as close as possible to C's right, directly abreast of him, while LG holds himself firmly against C on the left and slightly back from the line. The remaining rushers and halfbacks take their positions behind the guards, as indicated, in a similar manner to that shown in diagram 41. The men must be drilled until they can spring into their positions in the formation instantly. The ball should come back at the same moment and be passed to FB, who has come into FB1, and the whole wedge surge forward with the greatest possible force, as in diagram 41. This play may be repeated several times for short gains until the tackles and ends on the opposing side are drawn well into mass against it, when FB, accompanied by QB, will dart suddenly out from the rear for a long run around the end of the opposing team, as shown in the diagram, in which case RH and RE will cut across in the lines indicated to block the foremost men among the opponents. Should it be found that the opposing backs come up to help block the play, FB may drop suddenly back to FB2 and punch well down the field. Note: on the play in which the FB is sent out from behind the wedge for a run around the end, there should be a little delay in snapping the ball, in order to give the opposing team more time to draw well in behind the center. 39. Feint run around the end from the wedge in the line. The wedge in the line is formed at the given signal as shown in diagram 38. The men are closely drawn into a compact formation, so that the opposing side cannot see what goes on within the wedge. The moment the ball is snapped, QB slips it under the left arm of RE or RT, who receives it quietly, without making the slightest demonstration that the ball has been passed to him, and stands still in his position, bent over somewhat in the act of pushing, while the rest of the wedge plunges forward. As soon as QB has passed the ball to RE, he instantly starts back from out the wedge, seizing FB by the arm as he goes. RH leaves his position at the same moment, and all three dash off to the left together, as shown in carré, swinging in a long circle back from the line to attract attention and to give the opposing team more time to cut across the field in order to intercept them. As they pass into view, LH and LE leave the wedge in the lines indicated, as if to block for them. The opposing side at once supposes that the wedge has been simply a blind to permit the run around the end, and the entire team dash off to intercept FB, whom they suppose to have the ball. When FB and his interferers have arrived at about X in the lines indicated, RE darts out to the right unobserved. Note: this play can be worked most successfully after sending the wedge straight ahead for several downs. 40. Revolving wedge from a down. To send the revolving wedge through the line, the arrangement shown in the cut is formed in precisely the same manner as explained in diagram 38. The ball is put in play immediately, and the entire wedge plunges straight forward as before, in a closely compact body. After a few seconds, when the opposing side have massed themselves in front of the wedge so that its forward progress is nearly blocked, the entire formation throws its weight to one side, each man turning slightly in order to face the direction in which he wishes to proceed, and attempts to revolve around the opposing team, turning upon C as a pivot. The very fact that the opponents are pushing with utmost force in a direction exactly contrary to the original line of advance of the wedge is of great assistance in performing the evolution. When the wedge has swung sufficiently around, the rear men may break away and dash down the field with the ball. 41. Lifting wedge through the center. To send FB in a wedge through the line between LG and C. The play is peculiar in that it consists of two distinct parts. At a given signal to form the wedge, together with an additional signal which shall indicate whether the play is to go through the center or around the tackle, LE, RE, LH, and RH rush in and take the position shown in the large cut. LE stands behind LG, whom he grasps by the hips, his arms only slightly bent at the elbows, and his body held well back from LG, in the best position for pushing. LH occupies the same relative position behind and slightly to the left of LE. RE jumps in and takes the position behind and a little to one side of C, giving QB just room enough in which to receive the ball, and places his hands on the hips of C with his body braced back at arm's length. RH takes a similar position behind him and a little to the right. FB comes in slightly closer to FB2. As soon as possible after the wedge has been formed, C puts the ball in play. FB dives straight into the vortex of the wedge, receiving the ball from QB as he rushes by him, and rams his head low down between the hips of C and LG, the ball held tightly at his stomach with both hands. The instant the ball is snapped, LG and C press close together and do not allow themselves to be forced apart. FB shouts lustily, "Now!" the instant before he strikes the line, and all lift straight ahead for 3 or 4 seconds, FB pushing with his head. C carré. Then LG and C burst apart, carrying their men with them, and allow FB and QB to shoot through the opening. C cut B. 42. Wedge from the center around the tackle. To send the wedge around the LT, a preliminary signal of "form the wedge" is given, together with the signal which is to indicate the direction of the plays, and the formation seen in the large cut is instantly made in precisely the same manner as shown in the preceding diagram. All the men in the wedge should have the appearance of being about to go through the center as before. At the instant the ball comes into his hands, QB whirls about, turning his back toward RE, and places the ball in the hands of RH. QB then instantly turns back and attaches himself to the side and a little behind LH, while FB, springing forward at the same moment, attaches himself in a like manner on the other side of LH, and all three dash away together in the lines indicated around LT. RH follows close within the vortex of the wedge so formed, while RE runs directly in the rear of RH and pushes with all his force as they round the tackle. LE throws his entire weight in behind LG to help hold the line back, and LT forces his man back and to the right. Note: LH must take great care not to leave his position until the instant that QB and FB reach him. The formation must be somewhat open, and all endeavor to run at great speed. Note: it must be borne in mind that the representation in the cut is diagrammatical, and that in reality the guards are drawn close in by the side of center, while the tackles are shoulder to shoulder with the guards in all plays with the above wedge formation. 43. Quarterback around the end from behind the wedge. With the preliminary signal to form the wedge, a signal is given to indicate the direction of the play, and the formation as seen in the cut is taken in precisely the same manner as shown in diagram 41. The instant the ball is snapped, QB passes it straight back to FB, who dashes forward, hands the ball directly back to QB as he passes, being careful not to make a forward pass, and dives into the line between LG and C. As QB receives the ball, he instantly runs out from behind the wedge and makes for the right end at utmost speed in the line indicated. At the moment the ball is returned to QB, RH, RE, and LH dash for the right end, LH crossing behind QB as he comes out from the wedge. RH runs directly for the opposing LE. RE takes the first man on the opposing side after he rounds the tackle, while LH runs on the inside of QB and interferes for him as they go together down the field. LE follows in the rear of QB to protect him and prevent him from being caught from behind. LT holds his man hard, and LG, RG, and RT play as shown in diagram 19. 44. Feint play from the wedge. At the signal, the wedge is instantly formed as shown in diagram 41. As the ball is snapped, FB rushes forward and, receiving it from QB at X, immediately crouches down behind C, shielded from view by the center, guards, and ends, who are tightly massed together. QB then instantly darts out from behind the wedge to the left, accompanied by LH and RH, who swing well back from the line to attract attention, and hold closely together to deceive the other side into the belief that they have the ball. The opposing team immediately suppose that a play around the end from the wedge is being attempted, and rush toward the side of the field to intercept it. FB remains crouched behind C until QB, RH, and LH are well off toward the side of the field, as at X, and then suddenly springs up and circles the opposite end, accompanied by RE, who makes sure to block the opposing LE in case he has come around behind the line. Note: compare this play with that shown in diagram 39. 45. Wedge on the end of the line. To form a wedge on the left end, at the given signal LE comes up into the line, and RT, RE, LH, and RH rush on instantly and form the wedge directly behind him, while FB moves over to a position about 2 yards in the rear of RE, as shown in the large cut. C allows RT just sufficient time to reach the left end, by which time the wedge will be perfectly formed if the men are properly drilled, and then snaps the ball as soon as possible. As QB receives it, he springs toward FB, passing him the ball as he does so, avoiding all possibility of being caught by the opposing LT. FB plunges forward at the same moment, receiving the ball at X, C cut A, and at the same time shouts, "Now!" as he rushes in behind the wedge. At that same instant, the whole wedge dashes forward on a slight angle to the left. LE jumps into the opposing RT, or the extra man in the line, while QB attaches himself to the rear of RE as the wedge rushes forward, C cut B. FB must succeed in getting well in between RH and RE, while all rush forward with utmost force, LH and RT holding firmly together. Note 1. RH may leave the wedge to take the opposing RE if he attempts to break in from the side. Note 2. In case the opposing side sends the backs up into the line to mass against the wedge and block it, FB may kick the ball down the field instead of rushing it, QB protecting him from the opposing LT as he does so. While not an especially strong position from which to kick, a short, quick kick just over the heads of the opposing back will serve every purpose. As on all future similar formations, it will compel the opposing side to retain at least one man well behind the line as a protection. 46. Play around the opposite end from the wedge on the end. After the wedge has been formed on the end, as shown in the preceding diagram, there may be some delay in snapping the ball, and the opposing LT, or in case of an inexperienced team, both LT and LE run around in order to mass against the wedge when it advances. In that case, the following modification may be made. Before the ball is snapped, the captain, seeing that the opposing LT has run around, gives some key word which all understand as a signal to indicate that the play is to be changed to one around the opposite end. QB makes the pass as shown in diagram 45, but passes to RE instead of FB, and then instantly turns and precedes RE around the right end. FB and RE dash toward the right as the ball is passed, FB preceding and blocking the opposing LE. RG attempts to lift his opponent back and force him in toward the center as far as possible. As RE starts forward in the line indicated, LG breaks away from his man as shown in diagram 8, and preceding RE, dashes into the LG on the opposing side in case he succeeds in getting around RG, while RT jumps in and takes the man whom LG has left exposed. RH follows directly in the rear of RE to prevent him from being taken from behind, while LH and LE block the extra men in the line. Note: this maneuver will prevent the opposing team thereafter from drawing all their men from the opposite end to mass in front of the wedge. End of section 11.